All right, so the last little bit in this section is on compound interest. And of course, compound interest has more applications than just with money, but this is the main part that we're going to look at here. Um, and so we have our formula here. I would recommend every time you do one of these problems, so there are going to be a few problems on the homework. Every time you do one of these, I would suggest that you write down this formula before you fill anything in. Um, and that way you can memorize the formula because it's not super complex. But if you haven't made any effort to memorize it, then it's probably going to be hard to remember. Um, but here we have the A is going to be the ending amount, the accumulated amount. P is going to be the present value. R is going to be your rate, rate as a decimal, not as a percent. And then N is the compounding periods per year. So for instance, we could compound interest quarterly, and then N would be 4 because you'd have 4 compounding periods per year. Monthly would be 12, semi-annually be 2, so on. And then T is going to be the time in years that you're investing this money. So these are just really straight plug in the calculator for the most part. Um, so let's look at a few examples here. We have a sum of $1,000 invested at 12% per year. We're going to find the amount after 3 years if we're compounding annually, quarterly, monthly. So we'll do annually, quarterly. I think this will be enough room. Monthly. So this is our principal, this is our rate, and this is our time, and then each of these will be our end. So here we have n equals 1. So annually is n equals 1. And let me write annually so we're not confusing it with the accumulated amount. But here's our formula. Again, if you were doing this 3 times, I think they might have you do it more times in the homework. But for each of these 3 or 4 or 5, however many times you have to do it, write down this formula before you fill anything in. I promise you will remember it. But we're just basically plugging everything in. P is 1,000. R is 0.12. N is, in this case, going to be 1. And then 1 times T is 3. And so let's see what we get. You can do this all at once in a graphing calculator. On a scientific calculator, it kind of depends how much you can type all together, but you should get this. Maybe on a scientific calculator, maybe just try to do this, raise it to the exponent, and then multiply the answer times 1,000. All right, so when we do quarterly, n would equal 4. So everything's going to be the same except n is 4. So 1 plus 0.12 divided by 4, and then times 4, or to the 4th times 3. And so we have 1425.76. And then the last one monthly, we'll have n equals 12. So 1,000 times 1 plus 0.12 divided by 12 to the 12 times 3. And let's see, we get 1430.77. Okay, that's really all there is to it. I mean, this is a very basic calculation. It's just a matter of remembering the formula. So no big deal there. If you have any questions on this section, feel free to email me.